Men only want one thing, and it's disgusting. Esports betting expert rope hat on boxermovement.club in just 1 or 2 days. If you're interested, I can make that a reality. If you want, head on over boxermovement.club, or you can head on over to asim.io, 10% off with the code launders. Best CS2 headphones on the market. So what are we talking about here? It's the end of the season, the very first season of CS2. And yes, for once, we are sticking to it as a community. And I'm proud of us as a community of figureheads. We have made this a real thing because there's always been player breaks. But this is the first time that we have collectively called it the season instead of just saying the event before the player break, the event after the player break, the last couple events leading into the player break. And this is the last time that we will have a non-major as the last event of the season. So Blast Spring Final here in London that just finished, that Team Spirit 1, which I'll talk about in a second, is sort of the major of this season that's just not real. That's just not real. Because if it was the major, Na'Vi would have won. But it is the last event of the season and last big event as well. As we go into the break, and so here marks the end of the first season's fraud watch. Right, that's the fun part about all of this. It was something that we started for fun during the RMRs to talk about some of our favorite teams, and I was directly mirroring my own emotions when it came to the regional stories that I was cheering for. Right, if I was upset because if the Mongols didn't make it through the Asian RMR, I would have been really upset because we all had high expectations for them. And as racists, we were really looking forward to Mongols showing some dominance over there, And if they didn't make it through, that would be bad. When Liquid didn't make it through for North America, I was pissed. When when all the teams that we covered, right, that failed to go through, that looked good but didn't make it, that Astralis, the most racist teams out there, when they didn't do what they were supposed to do for their countries or their region, that's when we fraud watched them hard. And I really like that. And as soon as the RMRs ended, and then we went and did the major, and then I kind of did the same thing for Na'Vi, I did mean everything that I said, and I think I stand by it, even though I'll say they look so much better at Blast London than they have at Dallas Pro leading into this, in between the major and now. But it didn't feel the same doing it to the team that just became major champions. So I think in terms of framing, just the way we're going to put out the content, I'm going to save the fraud watching for the actual RMRs because I think that's the most emotional time for people. I think it's satisfying to kind of riff on a team that really failed to meet expectations, and I don't think you're saying anything that's going to make them feel worse than they already feel, if that makes sense. But less of the tearing down teams when they're at their best. Even if, and trust me, it hurt me to say that that Na'Vi may have been a fluke team or a fraud team when they won the major. When I've been always cheering for Alexi B. But yeah, so anyways, the fraud watch recap of the season is something that I'm going to do. I'm going to do a racist team tier list for this season as well, because that'll be very fun. But for today, we're just going to do the news, okay? And bam, what do we have straight off, okay? G2 bench Nexa, okay? Now, I know you guys are coming off hot from I've never I had so many people in person at Blast London come up to me and say, ugly? Obviously referencing the Donna joke where she called me an ugly hater. And she didn't mean to call me ugly, guys. She rescinded that. She was just saying ugly hater, and just to say the hater, but hey, why does she have to be accurate if she doesn't care if I'm accurate? You know what I mean? So listen, when all this happened, of course, this might sound a bit condescending because, okay, it is. But when Donna came at me, it didn't really feel like I didn't want to even punch back too hard because, honestly, this is the nature of the game, right? You criticize players. Sometimes they get let go. Sometimes they get replaced. If it's personal to you, that's not my fault, right? Everyone's got something going on. I got to be fair to everybody. I criticize everyone evenly. So, when she came at me, I understood where it came from, but, it's not personal. But when she says, I don't know CS, and then the guy that she's defending gets removed from the team 2 weeks later. I'm not going to be dancing on any graves, okay? But and I'll also say that I don't take it lightly that someone's losing their job. I think that's the biggest thing of this. A lot of people were adding me saying Nexy, ha ha ha, launders won. Nexa got cut from his team. But first of all, Nexa's a fucking great guy, so that's really weird behavior because I don't even know why he would not have fans, even if they were. But obviously, they're cheering for G2 as an org. They're maybe cheering for players like m0NESY and Nico, like I am, in terms of their stories and wanting them to win as much as possible. So sometimes a player that's underperforming can be looked at as they're interfering with that. But I don't take it lightly that someone is losing their job, like in real life, right? Like that's something that I don't think is actually funny. So I don't co-sign any of that, and I won't be dancing on anyone's grave. But of course, it's I'm vindicated. I'm vindicated, guys. Okay, so nexa is removed from the team, and now they're confirming potentially that malbs is coming into the lineup. Okay, so the interesting part about this removal with nexa is that he's the anchor for G2, and this will probably go down as one of the worst roster moves in the history of the game, to be honest. Even if you're new, I'm going to say that straight off. This is the most nonsense move, getting nexa on the team to replace JKS. Again, not because nexa is a bad player. It's not that. It's that JKS was working. That's the weird part. And JKS is the better anchor. So that there wasn't anything that made sense in terms of the reasoning when we heard about it, besides vibes and emotions. And like, it was like, we got lifting trophies. That's the point, right? So they win 3 major events with JKS. Then they cut him. Then, now we see how heavy HooXi is because nexa comes on the team, and he's also not performing that well. JKS was able to rid us of having to criticize HooXi that much because he was a strong enough anchor. You could argue a star anchor, right? And so you didn't have you could have HooXi with negative KD, negative rating, and it wasn't bad enough. But that's kind of how much HooXi needs every other player to be extremely good. We're talking about best player in the world, m0NESY. We were talking about Nico on the team. And then we're talking about all 5 of these guys playing at the spring final and bombing out, obviously. And HooXi having his worst event so far. So, yeah, that's why that's all it took. That was the straw that broke the camel's back, and you could almost see it coming from the beginning. So right now, there is a problem of anchoring in the top level. ropz has obviously not been himself lately, though he was playing a bit better towards this end of the year. Bit is actually very shaky right now, which is sort of surprising because he was the player in the major final that was so good. Jimpat is the best anchor besides maybe Magix, who was amazing at that spring final. So him and Jimpat are good. And then we're talking about mezii, who mezii is not a good anchor either. He's somebody who struggles massively in Pit on Inferno, all these positions that we've seen him in playing that Vitality. Clearly, mezii is cut out to play star player roles. He has great aim. He could play rotator spots, but the problem is he's playing on one of the best teams in the world, so he can't necessarily replace the star players on his team in those roles, even though he could maybe replace a worse team in these roles. So, well, we don't know though, because whose spot is he going to take if he does do that on Vitality? I have no idea, but he's not a good anchor. He needs to work on that. And what's the difference between a rotator and an anchor? A rotator gets more frags because they play high traffic locations. An anchor has to pick the one timing to dodge 2 flashes, turn around, get a double kill. It's very difficult and a different reason. And different personalities are cut out for different roles. And mezii is just not cutting it. And what B-Site does too, it's not working. Okay, it's just not working. He's not a good anchor. I think ropz is somebody you could think was good in the past, maybe good in the future, right? I just don't have that necessarily with mezii, and I don't know why he can't figure it out. That's not really what I'm worried about. I'm also not worried about him being a great guy, because obviously King mezii is a fucking great guy, but is he a good anchor? No, he's not a reliable anchor. And Bit was someone who was good before. I'm sure I would bet he would become good again. Still young, was amazing, 2 majors, etc. Then we go to G2. Nexa wasn't a good enough anchor. He's one that gets cut. And if malbs comes in, that doesn't make sense because malbs replaces Nico and Hunter in most of his roles, most of their roles. He's obviously not going to get most of Nico and Hunter's spots. People are saying that Hunter should anchor. I think that is so stupid because Hunter is like a squirrel. Have you ever seen Hunter play CS? In what world do you think Hunter would make sense as an anchor? He's literally one of the most mobile players ever. If I was an anchor and Hunter was my rotator, that's when I would be in my comfort zone, right? Because I know Hunter is going to find a way to help me. He's going to get really fast to come and help me around, get creative and help me and do some cool shit for me to get to help me while I'm standing behind a pillar waiting while mollies are coming and flashes are coming over. And I know Hunter's going to come help me, right? But like, you know, if like Perfecto or Shush was my rotator, I know they would help me too. I'm not saying that those players wouldn't know how to help, but Hunter would be amazing at it, right? He'd be like Indiana Jones to come and save me while I'm upper on nuke and like I'm just playing fur and like there's fucking flashbangs coming through the fucking glass and like it's just too much shit going on. Like I want Hunter to come save me, you know? I want to be Perfecto in that situation. I want Hunter to come save me. I don't want to be Hunter in that situation and then have like well, everyone could save each other on G2 in that case, in this example, I guess. But if Hooksy goes to play anchor, it's going to be a fucking retake simulator for G2, and this will go down as another dumbass roster move that doesn't make any sense, where they take a decent player and put him in the wrong roles and then continue losing and wasting the careers of Hunter, Monacy, Nico. Okay, so don't know what's going to happen. Thought this would be 2 roster moves, but I don't think there's a free IGL out there that they can grab. So, we'll have to see about all of that. Yeah, all of that. Yeah, okay. So, anyways, malbs, good player. Get ready for me to say good player, not good because that's just how it goes, man. It's the orgs that are doing this. They're making some of these moves that don't make sense, and then you spend the next 4 months criticizing what feels like the player, and everyone gets mad because you're criticizing the player when you really criticize the move in the first place, right? Okay. Casper cadiaN moved to the bench. So Casper cadiaN is moving to the bench. This is actually big news. Hold on, let me try that again. And in an unbelievable roster move, they've got cadiaN on the bench. Team Liquid have decided to get rid of their IGL, Opper, and technically star players. He's playing some star positions with that op. And I'm going to say 2 things right now and be very frank, okay? Number 1, I don't know who the fuck they're going to get next, and it seems pretty clear there's a lot of dissent in the team as to listening to cadiaN, the system in which he was running. They didn't seem to be buying into it, and for that reason, I'm sort of mad at everybody else. Number 2, he was not a good individual in CS2 on this roster, okay? And he couldn't play star roles, and he was sort of almost barely serviceable on Heroic in the first place as a star opper, but he had Stown as a hybrid and a very unique system, which I was excited to see on Liquid, to be honest, but that didn't translate over, and cadiaN couldn't hold his own, in my opinion. Bubsky had a tweet saying that he had the same 0.31 op kills around, and so he's basically the same opper as Heroic. All that's fucking nonsense. If you have been watching Liquid like I have and watching all of their games like I have, you have seen him miss some of the easiest shots. And I say that because they should have been easy for him, right? He normally hits those. So I think, and if he wants to disagree with that or anybody wants to disagree with that, let me know. Let me know if you've just been reading stats all day, if you actually have been watching these games and you think that he's been a serviceable opper. So that's a fucking worst part about this. And I say easy shots because if this was a system problem and the system's all messed up and so he can't concentrate, I get that, really. I actually genuinely think that's a good reason for why your performance goes down. But some of the shots that he's missing are really easy, so I don't know how to blame the system. That's my take, okay? So I'm having a hard time going to bat here for cadiaN, where I was ready to say if they cut him that the system they have to buy into 100%. He should have all the fucking responsibility and power. And we saw what he did with Heroic, and he needs to be able to figure that out, and his teammates need to trust him. And I thought he was going to be able to cultivate that trust and all the energy underneath him with the team and everything because of what he showed that he could do with his last lineup. where he brought players out of obscurity to the tier 1 to a trophy, right? That's not a small thing to do. But he didn't do that. They didn't believe in it, and now it's not working. And this problem is also, and the other reason I want to go to bat for him is because there's also skullz underperforming as an anchor, and yaKinder absolutely shell of himself, like complete shell of himself. Could not just not even, he's not even like, if they knew that he was going to play this badly for this many months, they would have never signed him in the first place, right? There's expectations for yaKinder to play much better. So he got better at Dallas, but that's one event. And you can never, ever say like that justifies the rest of the year not making the major, all the losses. If it leads into something better, great, but like they're already making a roster move now. So it's hard. I can't pin it all on cadiaN. So I guess there's three things. You can't pin it all on cadiaN. His individual level wasn't good enough, and it didn't seem like everybody bought into the system, which I feel bad for him for that reason. Okay, so obviously, and this one, I bet there's so much shit behind closed doors that we don't have any idea about. But this one sucks because, yeah, what are they going to do now? What are they going to do now? All right, so that leads into FURIA advanced negotiation for skullz. I was big on skullz coming into to Team Liquid. He was a good anchor on Pain. It was something that seemed like it would work. He's obviously quite a reserved person, and that was something that Naf said, that he wasn't sort of taking situations into his own hands. And I can point to situations where it's true, where like he'll be playing Donut on Ancient, and there will be an A hit, and there's a very specific window of timing that all good players can hit when players are crossing out of the A site and you're getting the fight right past the signpost and you're taking one or two frags, and skullz is not even close to even thinking about trying to fight this. Like, he's readying retake. He's not getting into a spot where he can be aggressive enough to get his one kill. And then that's the special quality of anchors, is finding the small timing, the very, very small timing, and getting one or two kills even, or getting one kill and staying alive. Like when you're playing coffins on Inferno and they're full execing the site, and most players are there's no way in. You wouldn't see anything. You eat a flash, the smoke comes up, they run by you. Like, there's just tons of things to miss and so many reasons, so many excuses to not get the kill. But a good anchor will find that 1 second, boom, right before the smoke plumes, boom, a guy running around the outside. They'll get the kill and they'll stay alive. Those are good anchors. Very hard skill to teach. Some people have that skill for that small timing. Magic's, when he was playing Rafters on A-side nuke in Blast London, and he gets the fucking 2K spray transfer, right? Anchors, they're never warm, but they're always ready to be hot, right? That's what an anchor is. That's what Magic's did for Spirit in all throughout the tournament. skullz wasn't showing that, and I really thought that he would be able to, and I think he will be better probably with a Brazilian team speaking Portuguese. Maybe he can go help FURIA. Hopefully, I don't fuck up his whole career. Not a fan of FURIA anymore, you know that. So yeah. Anyways, big anchor problem this year. Blade BO5 was a little bit too much for us. Yeah, it was. Well, Lexi B breaks the curse. I think is 1-17 now in best of fives and grand finals after losing 3 best of 5 grand finals, 0-3 each. 3, 6, 9. Oh no, it's 0-15 and 5 grand finals. Wait, the fuck? Do I have that right? 5 times 3 is 15. Yeah. Okay. Shit. I think I accidentally said something wrong before. But yeah. Anyways, funny record. Unfortunately, when they played this final, like Alexi was so good on map 2, I think it was, and they lost the map anyway. And I remember thinking, damn, like all people are going to remember is a 0-16 now, instead of he was 15, but he had 15 losses, but he actually played well in one or two of the, who knows how many of them he actually played well in. So I'd say it's a bit unlucky, but yeah, wasn't able to beat it. Spirit have a better map pool. They had their mental shit ready, man, locked down. Spirit played as good as they did. It was much healthier than even Katowice, okay, for Spirit this time. So last video I actually did about choking, talked about Spirit, because at Dallas, at the major, in those 1 or 2 matches, they choked, they fell apart. And then like we look at Zontix at this event, wow, amazing, dude. Like the HE grenades, the mid-round fragging, he even almost won like a really hard to win retake on a very like last second call. So the mental was straight up way better here for Team Spirit. And I want to say that this final, even though they did technically run over Na'Vi, was still a pretty good look for Na'Vi. I would say Spirit had odds in this final as long as they weren't going to choke, and they didn't. And Na'Vi yet still won one map very confidently. They looked kind of strong in other spots, even though they started slow in a couple games. They kind of showed how strong Spirit were, but they didn't go out looking like fools. And I'll say Imma doesn't end with good stats at this event, but he actually, if you again fuck the stats, if you actually see like fuck the stats, because if you go back and watch the major, Imma was horrible. But if you watch this event, you see he's improved. But the stats aren't that much better. They're a little better, but anyways, Bit was actually somebody who was quite bad this event too. That's unfortunate. But yeah, BO5 a little bit too much for us. Na'Vi, they've never had a really strong map pool for this. Spirit have an excellent map pool, and especially versus Na'Vi, it's a pretty bad mismatch, to be honest. So, yeah, best of 5. Okay, all right, I don't have this up, but yaLLa Compass, obviously, yeah, going to clear something up about the winners of yaLLa Compass, which are the Mongols. Never said a bad word about them, but I've criticized Liquipedia, the website, because they list every tournament that has like a 200K or more prize pool as S tier, and that just completely sullies the meaning of the word. So like you can't even use it. And people might be like, well, why does that matter? Why don't you just let people win and enjoy their glory and have fun? It's because fucking stupid. How are you supposed to have a conversation about who's actually the best in certain situations when it comes to what if it's Mongols and then later on another Asian team wins another S tier event and then you have to compare the two, and then they both won Mickey Mouse Cups. It doesn't make any sense. Why would you want that for them too? So it doesn't make sense right now. People are like, just let them have the S tier moment. Like it's not an S tier event, so why have that? They didn't have. There was no S tier teams there. There was no top 6 teams at the entire event. But anyways, it was still a good event to see the Mongols win. It was a hard event to win, absolutely. S tier, no, they just lost to Falcons just now in the Yonchaping, whatever. So it's yeah. Anyways. They're right on the edge now. They're right on the edge of really taking a big win. But yaLLa Compass wasn't quite it. This was a good event to see that NIP were actually improving with new lineup, and you know. But I mean, as soon as you saw NIP and FURIA in the semifinals, are you really saying that this is S tier? No, it's not an S tier event. Anyways, okay, show that we were capable. Yeah, fair enough. No, I don't think this is true. This is again. I think Mezzi. Again, I really do think he's a good player. I really do. I think Dallas showed us his ceiling, but I don't think it's because of anchoring. I'm still got doubts about that. I hate to say it. So okay, yeah, that's it. We got a bunch of news for today. Actually, very exciting. First day of the player break. End of the first season of CS2. You've been with us for this whole season, watching the major failures, all the events. Let's get some roundup thoughts. I want to hear what everyone thought about this season, how you've had fun watching it. Is this your first time watching CS or following the scene? Do you want to see more types of like videos like this? And I don't know why I sound like such a fucking corporate YouTuber right now, but I genuinely actually want to read the comments on this. So while we go into a break, still going to be uploading content, still going to be doing news, and this break, player break, while it's supposed to be a vacation even for us commentators, I'm going to be in Toronto. I'll be doing some stuff while I'm here, and I've got some exciting new projects coming up, actually, CS projects as well, because I don't fucking stop doing shit. And then I'm going to also do more news and stories and things like that. So yeah, I'll be covering all the roster moves, dramas, and shit. All right. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you maybe in a couple days, 1 or 2 days. Got a lot of things to do. Racism tier list? Yes or no? Do that next.